That is incredible.
And the other one was sitting meditating one day, minding my own business, and having an out-of-body experience, and found myself travelling out. And now, as I've told you before, the two bodies, your physical body and your spirit. Your spirit is the real you.
Mm-hmm.
And so my spirit took off, and I found myself travelling. And then I was in this arena, and it was packed, thousands of people in, and they're all in different coloured robes. And I felt the most profound love, like I've never felt in my life, from that day to this. When I've had my children, my grandchildren and everything else, I've never felt love like it, that I felt was building, and everybody else was, to this person that was coming. And when I looked over to the left, right over the other side of this arena, massive big, you know, an arena where we're all up here, what do you call it?
Like the O2 arena.
No, an amphitheatre.
Amphitheatre,
but a big one. And down there was a teacher on the platform. He'd obviously been given a lecture, and then he just went off. And then the next thing, this person, walked through this opening, and he was in a robe right down to the floor. And he looked like a young man. Blonde hair to his shoulders, and he was in this robe, and the love that came, and he was way away from me, right through that arena, and everybody was in raptures. But we weren't speaking with this. You only use this when you're in the physical world, with your thoughts. But I knew this being, person, whatever you want to call it, was very, very important, you know. And then I watched him, and he went down to down the front row, and he went over and he leaned. He put his hand on this person, and she sort of fell back in raptures, you know. And he carried along. It went on for a while, this. Men, women. And it was like he was that one, you know. Now I'm on the back row.
You're in the stalls.
I'm in the stalls, right at the back, and I'm like, oh my God, let it be me, let it be me.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why I was saying that, but I'm saying, let it be me. It sounds like a song, that doesn't it? So, anyway, I'm there, and he finally, eventually, gets up to the back row. And I watched him further down, go to a man, right away down, and then he started making his way along this row where I am. And my heart was jumping out of my chest. I've never felt anything like it from that day to this. The love that I was feeling and the excitement that I was feeling, and it was incredible. But I wasn't seeing him head on. I could see him in the distance, but I couldn't make out his facials. So anyway, finally he gets... But I found myself looking ahead. He's coming here, and I'm looking ahead, and let it be me, please let it be me. And he comes along, and like I say, he was a young man of about 16. And he passed me by, with the flowing of the robe and everything else. And he passed me by. And I was gutted, my stomach just sank. And I'm roaring now in my mind, let it be me, and I'm looking after him, let it be me, let it be me. And he's just there. Gets to my right, and he stopped in his tracks. And he turned round. And you know the way you hear these spiritual stories and you think, and his eyes was beautiful, they were blue and this and this fella's wasn't that. I nearly fell through the floor. He turned round, and he's the light round him, unbelievable, and he looks over at me, and I'm like, jaw on the floor. There was golden light, liquid golden light coming out like this, right over to me. And I was like, flabbergasted. And I just could not believe what I was seeing. My jaw must have been on the floor. And my heart is still jumping out of my chest. And the love that I'm feeling for this, whatever it is, and then he leaned over and he touched me on the shoulder. And I got electrified down the arm. Literally, you know, like you put your hand in this electricity socket, right down your arm. And that was it. Instantaneously back on the chair. Here. sobbing, wanting to be back with him. Now, for days that lasted. It was like a longing. It was like whatever it was, I'd found what I'd been searching for. But I was trying to work out, what, even when I was 16, but all this. And it wasn't until weeks later, and the amazing healings that was happening after that. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't until weeks later when we were talking about energies and source energy. Do you know where I'm coming from? That and frequencies, because he nearly blew me off my feet, you know. That, it wasn't like, you know when you hear the spiritual, lovely spirituals, and I seen Jesus and I seen this fella and that one, you know what I mean? They're all in raptures. No, this fella was full of energy. And it was then that I hit home, because we all are pure energy, made up of that golden light, you know. And he had to take on the form, source energy, of a human being for us to comprehend him.
To understand.
To understand. Because if you cannot look on source energy without your brains being fried. Because
I think we both have that experience of almost being electrocuted by it anyway.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. That's why you're only allowed so much a bit at a time to download it, because
I always compare it to kind of, every time you have a little download, it's like a higher fuse fitted, so you can channel stronger and stronger and more and more.
That's right.
And too much too soon blows the 3 amp fuse.
Yes. Too much.
You have to become acclimatised to it.
Yeah, well, he threw me in at the deep end, that's all I'm saying. Confusing your thoughts like for weeks after, because it's like, is this really happening to me? Jesus, there's more, you know? And then people was having visions with the healing. They were having visions of the Jesus fella stood at the bed. You had people seeing angels, seeing the guides, some pretty amazing things, which after a while we became very blasé about. Because when you realise that that energy that I got that glimpse of, never forget it as long as I live, it's source energy. That's what we're made up of. That is the God within you and me and everybody else. That everything that is made, everything that's animated, everything that's living, is that energy, that pure gold.
And we're all interconnected.
That's why we're all one, yeah. So everybody has a spark of that energy that I see in them. And that makes up that person. That's their connection to God. God isn't a person sitting over there on a throne, giving out judgments and all this utter nonsense that we were taught. God is everyone and everything. That's
and we are an extension of Source.
Exactly. That's what we are. You've got the branch of the tree, haven't you? You've got the drop of water and the sea.
Which is why the spiritual truth, all is one.
Yes. Yeah.
We're all interconnected.
We're all interconnected. And that's why, if everybody understood what we understand, you'd never have wars. You'd never have one brother hurting another. You'd never have people going to wars, because when they're hurting somebody else, they're actually hurting themselves. Because what you dish out has to come back to your door.
Because of this interconnection.
Because we're interconnected. So there's a law, and there's only one law of the universe, and that's the law of attraction. As you sow, you reap. What you give out comes back to you. Negative, positive. It's like the law of attraction and The Secret and everything else that they've come up with, which we knew about years ago. People have made millions out of it, haven't they? And they've done great works
and
by
it's very simple though, isn't it? It's all about
simplicity.
We're all part of Source.
We're all gods. We're all sons and daughters of God, which is this pure energy source.
It's quite interesting how so many people go out to seek it and actually don't actually have to move away from the very chair that they sat in.
Well, that's where I found it, within me. And then I made sense of all the teachings that I'd ever read when Jesus used to do him and Buddha and everybody else. when he used to come out with sayings like, the place wherein you stand is holy ground. Think about it. Wherever you are, God is. So it is holy ground. The kingdom of God is within you. Of course it is. Because once you understand and recognise and reclaim your divinity, anything's possible. So, he wants me to wrap up. So is this part 2?
Yeah.
Right, okay.